And if you would join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Jerry, if you would do roll call.
Erica Connor?
Here.
Joel Frederick?
Here.
Dale Porter?
Here.
Art Schneider?
Here.
Vito Schwartz?
Here.
Carolyn Simon?
Here.
Greg Wirtz?
Here.
Steve Waddles?
Here.
Sherry Winchowski? Oh, I'm here. Diego? Here. And Madeline?
Here.
All right, this is an open meeting and it has been noted as such. Do we have any citizens' comments? No, thank you. All right, we're going to move right into our presentations. We've got a great young group with energy here, it looks like.
Yes, we do. And so we have a group of students from Prairie View Elementary and Principal Val Voss and also ALP teacher Melissa Barton are here. And I think Ms. Voss is going to kick it off. And then I think the students are going to introduce themselves and they're going to talk about their Butterfly Garden Club.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us here tonight. I am here with a group of 5th grade students. These are students who were part of our advanced learning program with Mrs. Barton last year as 4th graders and are still part of the advanced learning program with Mrs. Barton this year as 5th graders. And so they started this project last year at Prairie View researching where to put a butterfly garden, the different, why it would be great to have one, the different plants that would be incorporated into a butterfly garden. And so here they are this evening, very excited and nervous to share with all of you guys a little bit about the work that they've done. So to get us started, Hudson and Evan, if you want to go off, you guys can stand and speak into the microphone and get us started.
I'm Hudson,
I'm Evan.
and all the flowers in the presentation that you will be seeing today are flowers that we put in the garden. Why is it important to build a butterfly garden?
Prairie blazing star and early sunflower.
It is important to build a butterfly garden because butterflies pollinate flowers. Butterflies also control a lot of plant populations because they pollinate, which helps things grow. For example, if a raspberry bush gets pollen on it, it helps the raspberries grow.
Showy black-eyed Susan and showy goldenrod. Butterflies benefit with pollination and natural pest control. Butterflies are losing habitats due to deforestation and widespread pesticide use, as well as changes in climate and weather. Butterflies are important pollinators because 1/3 of all plants need pollination to grow fruit.
Purple coneflower, world milkweed, New England aster. Climate change has not been good for the monarch butterflies. Other problems butterflies encounter are habitat loss and pesticides. Butterfly gardens attract native bees and birds. The point of building a butterfly garden is to help conserve butterflies, as well as other native insects, and help protect native plant species.
Lavender highstop, butterfly weed, lupine, tall bellflower, and golden alexanders. By growing plants that butterflies need, you will help to preserve butterflies by providing them with the plants that they need for food and to raise their young. Butterflies and other pollinators, including bees, moths, birds, and bats, pollinate over 75% of the world's flowering plants. Butterflies help pollinate flowers, eat plenty of weed plants, and provide a food source for other animals.
Purple Joe pieweed, wild bergamot, prairie dropseed, and June grass.
That's it.
And then we have another group that's going to show you our
I'm Hugh,
And I'm Brayden.
and today we will learn about butterflies that are thriving at Prairie View Elementary School.
The pictures you will see are pictures we took of our garden. The pictures you see now are the early sunflower and the purple coneflower.
The best kinds of flowers for a butterfly garden are bright, light colors.
This is a white monarch, which is very rare. It's smart for gardens to be near woods with dark areas. There are so many types of flowers butterflies are attracted to.
Monarch butterfly eggs look like this. If you see an egg like this, do not smoosh. If you squish an egg, it will most likely get sprayed with some weird juice, and you could kill the butterfly. It will most likely be on a milkweed.
I'm Emily.
I'm Maddie.
And I'm Maya. This is a photo of our butterfly garden before we planted it. Our goal is to help educate the students and families at Prairie View about the importance of creating spaces for butterflies to thrive.
We planted 192 plants, 14 different types of flowers, and 2 types of grass. These are the plants before we planted them.
This is a picture before we planted our garden and after we planted the garden. These are pictures from our garden. The early sunflower, the butterfly weed, and the lavender hyssop and early sunflower.
This is a monarch caterpillar on the butterfly weed that we grew, and that's a purple coneflower.
As a reminder, you can help butterflies by 1. Help stop climate change, 2. Learn more about them,
3. Plant some milkweed. 4. Don't use pesticides in your garden.
We're having a school-wide contest to name our butterfly garden and design a logo that will go on a sign for our garden. Here are the finalists. Names: the Butterfly Landing, Butterfly Wonderland, or Pollen Paradise. And these are the pictures that we've narrowed down.
Thank you for Roots Landscaping for your guidance and support with planting the layout. Family Tree for the mulch. MASD Building and Grounds for making our space. Wild Ones Kettle Moraine Chapter for the plants suggestions. And the Friends of North Prairie Native Gardens for their advice and support. Thank you.
And I guess I did just want to add, the North Prairie Native Gardens in North Prairie, I did have a group of kids who are 8th graders now at Parkview, and that's sort of where this all stemmed from, is we coordinated with them to help them select their flowers, and the kids did plan out, they have a garden over on, I think it's Prairie View Drive, right? If you know Prairie View at all, it's back by the pond near Karen Drive. And we walked over there at the end of school, and the kids actually helped plant that garden. And sort of in turn, I'm on the board for the North Prairie Native Gardens now, and they sort of help support this project with us too. And and the people at Roots Landscaping are also on the North Prairie Native Garden, so they've been a huge support, and they are just so interested in helping our kids keep this growing, and we're hoping to move it out into the community and the families at Prairie View. So thank you.
Great job, thanks.
Great job, you guys. Thanks so much for coming. Your milkweed looks awesome. Who's planting a butterfly garden at home now? Which one of you? Some of you? Oh, good job. Fantastic. Thanks for coming. Okay, and then we're going to move into our student rep report. You guys good?
Hello everyone, here's our rep report. Freshman only day at Mukwonago was a huge success, hosted over 400 students. The MHS counseling department is hosting a financial aid information night for parents and students on the night of parent-teacher conferences, which is 10/19 at 6 p.m. in room 42. Counseling also hosted the annual MHS Muck Ready Day. Thank you to all the speakers, staff, and administrators who made this day possible. There's a highlight video linked to the report if anyone is interested.
The MHS Theater Department is excited to present the drama 12 Angry Jurors this fall with performances on from November 3rd through the 6th, and each performance will also include an original one act that was written by 4 MHS department students that tracks through the events leading up to the court trial scene in the main drama, and they can't wait to see everyone there.
Start with Hello Week at Mukwonago was a huge success. To kick off the week, multiple local businesses donated over 600 cups of coffee for students to enjoy. And to end it, SAVE hosted a phone-free Friday in which students were awarded raffle tickets for not being on their phones during passing periods. These tickets could be entered to win a raffle to win a multitude of amazing prizes. That was actually the video that all of you were in just at our last meeting we were there for.
This past Saturday, September 24th, Mukwonago High School Marching Band won first place in their division at the first competition they took part in at Waukesha South High School. They also were awarded Caption Awards for Best Overall Visual Effect and Best Musical Performance.
I was actually fortunate enough to be selected as the Student of the Month for this month, so.
Over at Clarendon, Miss Merton's 3rd grade class and Miss Stockwell's 1st grade class buddied up to work on Patriot Day activities, and they celebrated the heroes that come together to help us all.
So awkward. SOAR has moved into its new home for the 2022-23 school year. They've started off great by learning new cooking and life skills and working on both academics and relational skills.
All 3 4th grade classes at Big Bend spent some time during their first week of school having fun and participating in team building and problem-solving activities as a group.
Rolling Hills is off to a great start. An all-school Raptor Way assembly was held to review school behavior expectations where each staff member introduced themselves. The PTO is hosting Grandparent Lunch Week at Rolling Hills during the week of October 10th, along with a fall book fair.
And also at Rolling Hills, the 2nd grade has been going over classroom routines and expectations, and they celebrated their 2nd day of 2nd grade, which that included many activities that had the number 2, as well as double stuffed Oreos. So I wish I was there.
Parkview Fall Sports are off to a great start with the girls basketball, cross country, and gymnastics. Congratulations to all of the athletes.
And next Friday, PVMS is hosting their 2nd annual homecoming pre-parade party. So before the parade, all students are invited to go have an afternoon of fun yard games, music, and snacks from 2:35 to 3:45.
Thursday, September 1st, Parkview welcomed its new 7th grade class for our web day. It was another huge success. I remember web day.
Web day was fun. In Clarendon, on Sunday, September 18th, the Clarendon family hosted a back-to-school bash to celebrate the opening of its new playground, where over 100 families attended and 3 local food trucks sold treats while families socialized and students enjoyed the new equipment.
September 23rd, Officer Bausman and K-9 Officer Emma visited Miss Martin's third grade classroom. Students learned about K-9 Officer Emma's role and responsibilities with the Waukesha Police Department.
At Eagleville, something that I remember, they celebrated Heritage Day, which is Eagleville's 173rd birthday this year. The school celebrated by ringing the bell once for every decade that Eagleville has been around, singing happy birthday and having treats. And their guest speaker, Jesse Stanke, recently published a historical book on Eagle, so he came in and talked about the town.
Two of Eagleville's awesome clubs, the Spanish Club and the Art Club, kicked off in September. In Art Club, students built robots out of recycled materials, and Spanish teacher Senora, how do I say it? Curci, I don't know how to say that, hosted a lunchtime Spanish club. Apologies for pronouncing the name wrong.
Eagleville hosted their second annual Parent Creek Day, so parents were invited to come and learn about Jericho Creek from their 5th graders, explore the creek with their kids, and have a picnic lunch.
Mrs. Stibe's 2nd and 3rd grade class participated in the design engineering process to design rocket ships for the reading space in their classroom. The class used a point system to rank their favorite.
And our final school, Prairie View Elementary, in art, 4th grade students applied their knowledge of silhouettes and bright backgrounds to make some fantastic haunted houses get into the season.
Each month, the school will focus on a character trait or value which will be covered at a school-wide monthly assembly. For the month of September, the focus was on the word community. The giant number one, what is that? There's a picture involved. It's in the actual report. There's a picture of a number one, which every Prairie View staff and student had the opportunity to sign. And it's on display in the cafeteria.
Thank you to both of you. All right, we have our Transition Readiness Grant Award presentation.
Hi, so I asked Randy Ray Jensen, who is our transition specialist at the middle school and high school, to come up and talk about a grant that we were awarded as a district. And so Randy is here along with 2 of her colleagues to talk about some of the awesome things they're doing at MHS.
Hi everyone, thanks for having us. So first I'm going to start off, we're very excited. We were awarded the Transition Readiness, can you guys hear me okay? No. Transition Readiness Grant this year. This goes to around 20 schools in the state, and it's designed to support students with disabilities to become job and career ready. So I know we always talk about that, but this is with disabilities for post-secondary as well after high school. So we got $40,000 this year for the grant. This will be used for transportation. We transport our students a lot through Seniors on the Go to and from jobs, as well as we do have 3 special ed vans that we have purchased in the past through this grant as well. So just to get to and from for gas money, we'll use that. As well as Project Search. This is a program that is designed for students with disabilities. There's quite a few in the state of Wisconsin. The ones that we use the most are at Milwaukee County Zoo, as well as Waukesha Memorial. We have 1 student at Waukesha Memorial this year, and we hope to send 2 next year with this grant. And what they do is support them on the job. They have different rotations at the zoo and Waukesha Memorial that they learn different job skills so that they are job ready after the program. And the last one that we'll use the money for is funding for professional development for our special ed staff, sending them to different conferences, as well as paraprofessional job coaching to support them with that as well. The second grant that we have done several years now is called the Transition Incentive Grant, and that is a grant that we call our graduating seniors after a year. And we do a survey, and if they have been employed for more than 90 days in competitive employment, we get $1,000 per survey. Last year we got $24,000, and we're hoping to get around $30,000 to $40,000 this school year. So we're still waiting on that, and those funds will be used anything transition related, and they're going to talk about their program right now. So today we have Ashley Rofers, and she runs one of our vocational development classes at the high school. And Carrie Flynn here, she runs our transition program, and that's for our 18 to 21-year-old students. Our students can stay till they're 21 years old. So they're going to talk a little bit about those programs.
Hi, everyone. I'm representing the 9th through 12th grade teachers. My co-teachers are Heather Kane-Terhorst and Katie Johnson. The programs we teach are vocational development, life skills, our core group, and then along with academic courses to support all of our students. And I'm proud to say that we have 2 student-run businesses, one being Joe to Go, and Joe to Go actually purchased our first very own van for the high school to be used by our students. And our second new business that started last year is Sugar Sugar. So I'll bring it over to Carrie, and she'll let you know what the next business yes,
Yeah,
you'll
you're
find out
speaking
more.
my language.
Okay, I need to know.
Did we bring samples?
Yes,
Now we're talking.
yes.
So like Ashley was saying, she's 9 to 12, and then when those students graduate out of the 12th grade, they come to me if they're staying on for additional programming. 18 to 21, we do the transition program. This is our 3rd year in existence, so we're relatively new, but I think we hit the ground running. We also have 2 businesses with the 18 to 21-year-olds. Sarah Wright is our speech pathologist, and she has been running Puppy Love, making dog treats for the district with those 18 to 21 students for years. Now we've kind of incorporated, those are the students that I have that go to her for her community-based day and for baking those treats. But we also developed a business for greeting cards. That was 2 years ago, and now we have kind of ramped it up a little bit, and last year we overtook the greenhouse, and with the help of all the vocational skills students, we filled that greenhouse. So we had a spring plant sale that was tremendous. We had so many plants afterwards, we ended up at the Mukwonago Farmers Market. So it was a really great experience for all of our kids. So what we would like to do, we just gave you a really fast synopsis of our programs, but we would like to individually invite all of you to come and see us in action. Take a tour, Joe to Go and all of our other businesses. We will send you personal invites if you guys would be interested in doing that. We'd love to have you.
And then if you guys just look up here briefly, these are some of our partners that we do work with. A lot of our students do work experiences in the community. So I named a couple up here that we're currently working with, but we're always inviting other businesses to grow for our students and get the experiences. So if you know any of them, please connect with us, and we would love to do more. So thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, wait, don't go anywhere. What is Sugar Sugar?
So we were looking at creating a business last year that the students could be in charge of and run on their own primarily with just a little support. And so we created a sugar scrub that you can use for exfoliation. And so we have, I think, 8 different flavors that we're in the market right now of ordering all of our supplies again for this year's sale. So be on the lookout.
Very cool. I'm not biased at all. It's the best sugar.
I have a question before you go. Thanks for coming, but you said there's only 20 schools in the state that get awarded this grant?
That first grant.
The first grant, right. How are we fortunate enough to get it? You got it last year. What makes that possible? And then what are the odds you're going to get it next year?
That's a really good question. So you do have to use a lot of data. So one of the biggest things is showing how you're connecting with different businesses in your community. So we actually, our percentage is in the 90s, I would say, altogether with students in the disabilities being employed after high school. The one area that we are struggling with is our ID students right now. So that would be the students that Ashley and Carrie work with right now. And I think that's getting them out and exposed to more businesses. So that's kind of why we wanted to come in here and share that as well. So with that money, we're hoping to get our students out in the community more with that transportation and those different programs that I talked about before.
So success builds success. You've already got a high accomplishment rate. Keep that going. You're more than likely to get the grant again next year?
We will see.
Ideally.
Hopefully.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, ladies, for coming. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Okay, I'm going to jump down to the consent agenda. I'm looking for the approval of school board meeting minutes for the August 22nd, 2022 meeting, as well as approval of the board work session minutes from September 19th, 2022, and approval of vouchers number 138547 to 138953 in the amount of $3 million and change, and receipts for August 2022 totaling $8.5 million and change. Any questions, comments, discussion? Hearing none, it is approved by consent. We will move into our committee reports. We have Student Learning Committee.
This month, we had heard from Ben Cassow. He came and updated us on the information for the summer school of 2022. He reported on the number of students and the different programs we offered and the growth in classes from 2021. In addition, we previewed dates for 2023. We also, Stephanie and Mrs. Ziegler updated the committee on summer work done by our teachers during the summer, and there were 4,271 hours that the teachers worked over the summer. The work included aligning current curriculum more closely to our standards and analyzing data and setting goals for the buildings for 2022-23. Stephanie presented the review on the mentor training. They have been working for several years to improve our mentor training in order for teacher retention, and so that we were given a report on that. We were also updated on the launch of the K-6 Social Studies pilot with the TCI materials. What does it stand for? Is it just a company?
I think it's teacher-created information.
And she also discussed the pilot letter that will go out to parents, so the parents are aware that their students are being part of a pilot. She emphasized that the pilot is using the new material with past curriculum standards, so we're not doing anything new. We're just using the new curriculum with our already set curriculum. We reviewed policy number 9130, which refers to guidelines regarding instructional materials, and updated the committee on concerns about a book in the 4th grade library. That particular policy is a guideline on how to go about if someone has a concern over something in the curriculum. And that's it. Anything I've forgotten?
I don't think so.
Okay, thank you. Personnel Committee?
September 12th, we met. We evaluated the following NEOLA policies: staff evaluation, educator effectiveness, ethics and conflict of interest, outside of activities of professional staff, employees' expression in non-instructional settings, and grievance procedure. And then we also reviewed elementary security services and some notes from the principals in the district. Stephen.
For tonight, other topics that we'll be looking at is we're bringing forward some appointment resignations, retirements. We're also looking at potential payout for those looking to not use their personal day, and then also taking a look at the teacher retention fund to be able to retain key talent if we're in a position to do so. So those are the 3 additional items that'll come forward in the action item.
All right, great, thank you. And then Finance and Facilities Committee, Joel?
We went over some school safety updates regarding really the software we use for check-ins and safety-oriented announcements. Went through check register, which is a reminder that is open to any school board member or any citizen. It's completely transparent with the information that's out there, but if you do have any questions on what you see, please check with Tom. He can provide additional details. We talked about some of the bus concerns and next steps with what we're going to do there. And we did a 23-24 budget preview with going over a few different scenarios. And then we talked about facility rental rates, which will come up later for an action item. Let's see. We discussed some after-school pickup issues at Prairie View, which I think is another item that we're going to talk about, some possible solution for that. And we also talked about some space for the First Robotics Club, and that's an action item as well.
All right, and then on September 19th, we had a school board work session where we looked at updated facility plan options for Mukwonago High School, which included an adapted floor plan possibility for adding a new fitness center, or at least expanding it, so we were looking at that. The board members have been given homework to start putting together budget priorities for potential facility plans in the future, and then looking at a timeline of what that would look like as we continue moving forward in those discussions. And then we had a great time of board governance review as well. Before we get into action items, we have Joe Porto here with us. Are you ready?
Is this the one that you wanted to go first, or the other one? Yeah.
Joe, do you tan? Because do you golf a little bit? You look good, man. You look good.
I think it's the Italian club. How's everybody doing?
Good, how are you? I love coming to these things. There's nothing I'd rather be doing right now than listening to
So there are hard copies of the presentation at the table for you.
All right, well, thank you for giving up part of your meeting for me, and I am just really excited to come back and give this report. Just for a little context, one of the first most important parts of any search is to create a leadership profile so that we have a unique and very distinctive profile of exactly the kind of candidate that we're looking for. We found in our years of experience that the closer the match between a candidate's background, skills, style, to the needs of the district, the better success it's going to be. So if you remember, we came at trying to create a profile in 3 ways. First, we made a survey available to all of you, your community, the teachers, the staff, even students were represented in the survey. And then we also scheduled interviews with each of you so that you had your own time to share your perspectives with us. And the third prong was the day in the district that we spent, which was really enjoyable, by the way. It's really fun when you come to a district where there's a lot of positives. People are so proud of their schools and their community, and they can't wait to tell you all the good things that they are experiencing. We had a blast. That was the third piece. So what we did between that day and today is a lot of synthesizing data. We took what people told us in the interviews, we listened and wrote down everything that people shared in those focus groups, and we analyzed the survey. And after synthesizing that data, I'd like to present to you some of the profile that emerged very clearly to us. So that was the rationale. So we ended up talking to 78 participants, which for a district your size, that's a really good number. I want to thank Sean and Stephanie and all the staff that took part in the scheduling for us. We have no ability to make these appointments and set up these focus groups, so we rely on the good folks in the district office, and they planned a very tight day for us, and everything went beautifully. We talked to your district office team. There were 5 of them. We talked to your principals and building administrators. That was a group of 12. We offered several ways for the staff to do focus groups. I went over and talked to the high school, middle school teachers after school. Todd went over, talked to representatives from the elementary school. And then in the evening, we offered a virtual chance for the teachers. So they had 3 opportunities to participate. 4 of your PTO leadership and booster club folks came and represented a group. And I had a neat group with your community leaders and partners. They were really interesting and really eager to share their perspectives. And then parents had 3 opportunities as well. There was an on-site meeting. Sean, where was that one? At the high school? I can't remember. I think they had the high school.
So at the high school library?
Right. And then we offered 2 opportunities in the evening for virtual. And we offered those on 2 different days per your request, in case parents, couldn't make one. All in all, it doesn't look like a huge amount, but 16 of your parent and community folks participated. So that's how the focus groups laid out. The survey was an outstanding response. 1,282 folks responded to that. We're going to break down the data on that one. And then we were able to do interviews with 8 of the 9 of you. And Joel, I know you've been busy and had a tough time getting that scheduled with Todd, but we wanted to let you know that we still want to talk to you. And
Sure.
do you mind if we keep bugging you to set that up? Okay. So those are our data sources.
Yeah.
This is just I just thought I would share this with you. These are, what I'm getting at here, don't even look at the numbers or worry about that. It's the visual impact I want you to get. I'm about to share some kind of conclusions, and I wanted you to know that these aren't just Todd and I's opinion. Synthesis is a form of research, and the kind of research we did with both survey and interviews is really good, solid research. I gotta get you to that working? Sure. I thought I was talking into that one. Okay. What the process we used, researchers like to say it's both quantitative and qualitative. And so we wrote down every word that every person said in every focus group. And then this page gives you an idea of the kind of synthesis work that we do. You start categorizing things. Well, people thought the administration was a strength. People thought the staff was a strength. And then the tally numbers represent frequency. It's a frequency distribution. How many people actually said this? And again, it's not exact science, but when you look at frequencies, you tend to figure out trends. And what you're going to find that I thought was really cool with this, the focus group data and the interviews with the board coincided almost mirror with the survey. And so when you have the power, of both quantitative and qualitative, you got a pretty good feel for the results. So what were the results? That's what you really hear all about. I wish I could tell you how much enthusiasm your school community has for your school district. In fact, most of them couldn't talk about the 2 things without talking about them together. There's a real identity and pride just came through. And you should feel really good about this. I don't get to say this in every district I do this with. They don't always come out this positive. Your people couldn't stop talking about the strengths, and you should feel really good about that. The biggest strength then was this strong sense of community and clear connections between the school and the greater community. As I said, people viewed you and the greater community as one. The word supportive, I don't think I ever wrote a word so much. Supportive and involved parents and community. You're a district that doesn't have trouble getting people to care and be excited and to work as a team with you. This next one, I especially want to point out, often in these kind of discussions, outstanding staff comes up, and as it should. They're in the trenches, they do great work. Your community and your parents love your teachers. I'm telling you, the emotion is strong. But you know what else is cool? Administrators rarely come up in discussion, right, Sean?
That's true.
They rarely come up in discussions about strengths of a district. And I learned a long time ago not to take that personally. It's just the nature of the business. Your folks took the time to also say that you have outstanding administrators. That, I think this might be the first time I ever included that in one of these reports. So Sean, you and your team should feel really good about that. People don't view you guys as the enemy. They view you in partnership. They feel really good about it. And that's cool. And by the way, the teachers were saying this too. This wasn't just parents. You know what else they like? That you have an effective, and here's the key word, balanced program. So your academics are outstanding, but people pointed out that there's something for everyone. If you're not the greatest academically, there are fine arts, there's extracurricular, there's sports, and everyone in this district, every student, has chances to succeed. And that's really, really nice. They also mentioned, and in this post-COVID period, this is super important, that you don't have a blind eye to the social emotional needs either, and that you're working really hard on both the students and the staff's emotional and mental health needs. That's nice to hear right now, as I said, in the post-COVID period. There's a child-centered focus. The key word people were sharing was that this district is kids first. That's nice as a board when people say that that's how you're making decisions. Of course, the high student achievement, preparedness for college, and people took the time to say college isn't for everyone, and you guys do a nice job with the technology and the vocational and the whatever life path a kid is wanting to pursue. So that kind of goes with that balance as well. Everybody told me about the 30-year history of being locked into a low funding rate. I heard all about the history of that. You've done a nice job, sharing that. The community's well informed about it. But the strength comes from, despite that roadblock, you guys do a very nice job. There isn't a lack of resources. You're able to do a beautiful job, especially with your high school. And nudge, nudge, they know you're working on the middle school too, and they hope you continue to do that. And the last thing was size of the district. A lot of people say you hit the size of this community is perfect. You hit the sweet spot. It's big enough to provide lots of cool programs, but you still, I keep hitting this, still have that small town feel. So those were the positives. Feel really good about it. Next, we asked the focus groups, and during the board interviews, we asked you what were areas that were maybe issues, concerns, if you want to state it more positively, opportunities for growth. And this first one was raised in just about every group we met, including the board discussions. And there's a perceived divisiveness and polarization going on among school board members that mirror the current political climate within both the community and country. In other words, it's not unique to your community, but it's there. And folks took the time to point out this has led, in their opinion, to some micromanaging and lack of focus on the big picture. Again, I feel pretty strongly that this is a perception. Now, whether it's a reality, that's a different thing, but it is a perception. I used to preach to my staff and community, perception is reality. And if it's not accurate, then you got to figure out a way to change the perception. If it is accurate, you got to figure out a way to change the reality. So something for you all to reflect upon. The next one, I think, also came out in every group. People here think you have fantastic teachers, but they're scared to death of you losing them. And some of that comes from post-COVID, where lots of teachers around the country have resigned and gone into different careers, but a lot of it is fear that your salary schedule is not competitive as some other districts, and some other districts are poaching some of your really good teachers. It's a legitimate concern. The outdated middle school was the next most frequent thing discussed. And along with that was your junior high structure. It's really not a middle school structure when you're only 7, 8. So people kind of merged those two things together, both the facility and your model, and talked about a possible referendum to help you with that. While a balanced program that includes concern for social, emotional, and mental health was one of your strengths, people also said, but it's not quite what it could be, and you need to keep focusing on it. So this is one where keep up the good work was kind of what people were saying, and don't take your foot off the gas. Communications was funny. It wasn't, it did show up in the strengths. It wasn't one of the most frequent, so that's why it didn't land on that first slide, but it was there. But then another group felt strongly that it could be better. And they were mainly talking about from the district to the community. And also what got brought up is the parents are probably better informed. Maybe that you need to think of some ways to get non-parent community members. Maybe you just haven't found the right vehicle yet. That was kind of the gist of that feedback. This is another sign of actually a really good district. People thought that you're doing great, but we want to keep that up. We don't ever want complacency. We don't ever want you to rest on your laurels, because when you start thinking you can coast, you actually start moving backwards. So you have very wise people. I can't tell you enough how much we thoroughly enjoyed these conversations. You could probably tell by what's come up here. And Sean, you should feel good about this. A lot of folks talked about big shoes to fill. It's hard to follow a living legend. And
really? We're going to give it a try.
But you'll muddle through. And then a lot of folks talked about the importance of listening to all points of view and respecting a wide range of opinions and ideas. I think you could all maybe even circle this one back to the first bullet point. I think they kind of go together. So that was the strengths and weaknesses, if you will. And then when we asked the focus groups, well, who should we look for? This is not a typical list that we get when we do this. This is very well done by your folks, and it's very unique. The most important characteristic that came up most frequently was people wanting a uniter who's open-minded, all points of view, able to lead others towards a consensus based on what's in the best interest of children. That would go a long way with several of those concerns that got brought up. So again, your folks are really wise. They talked about an issue, but then when we asked them, well, what do we need to really be the most effective leader here, they hit that one right away. This one was wonderful. Strong, decisive leader, able to make tough decisions. Everybody who shared this had a but able to maintain positive people skills. And different groups and different individuals had different ways of describing this. One said, we want someone who's tight and loose. Another one said, strong and kind. Another one, this was great. We need a surgeon, but also a pediatrician with the care and concern. So whichever way you relate to, those were just wonderful descriptors. Your folks want a strong leader, but they don't want a dictator. Sean, I think this next one comes from the example you have given. They could never warm up to a superintendent who wasn't visible, approachable, accessible, hands-on. I think you've modeled that so well with your team. Good listening skills, and again, open to new ideas and other points of view. People were really stressing that open-mindedness. Don't get locked into one point of view or the other. Be open. The word charismatic was important to a lot of people. Some described it dynamic, strong. Others were talking about a presence. When he or she walks in the room, they have a presence. And I wrote it down, a group called it the it factor. You just know strong leaders when you see them, you feel it. Visionary, innovative, focused on continuous growth, positive change. So this is the one that gets at that complacency issue. They don't, your folks weren't saying, let's just cruise and relax. They were saying, we want a visionary who will keep us moving in the right direction with the best practices. Engaged, involved, connected to the community. How could you not be in a community like yours? And again, Sean, this one came from you, so you were modeling a lot of traits people want to see. Supportive champion for administrators, teachers, and staff. The phrase, has my back, was used quite a bit. And that's important when staff and administrators feel safe, that they can do their jobs, and not be worrying that the superintendent won't be supportive. So this is what we learned from the focus groups and the interviews with board members. So kind of put that off to the side now. Next, I want to highlight what we learned from the survey. So, by the way, math people, this doesn't add up to 100 on purpose because some people are in multiple groups. So we'll beat you to the punch before anybody asks that. But 72% were residents, 67% were parents of students, and then we had a nice response from parents of former students. It was good to see non-parent community members participate. You had a real good staff response. Thank you, administrators, for helping with that. 1% is usually about what we get from the students, and 16% still volunteer in the school. So it was a great survey, well beyond what we say we need for validity. So these are pretty reliable statistics. It's not like, yeah.
Shouldn't the Mukwonago area school district residents be 100%?
Well, some of your teachers aren't residents.
Oh.
Right, and remember, we have 600 students
Right.
that are open enrolled.
That makes sense, very well.
Good question, though. So let's compare these strengths with the ones we learned from the focus groups. They're not necessarily in the same order of frequency, but you'll see similar results. Excellent teachers and staff. Educational options and programs. That's that balance, that's the extracurricular sports, all of that. Academic achievement. That's what we called in the other results was high achievement. Facilities, good facilities. Supportive community, that was number one from the focus groups. Reputation of the district, that was part of the sense of community. Supportive parents, and your curriculum. So those are just exactly the ones you want to see up there. Now, what did the opportunities for growth look like? Before you panic, personnel came up first. But I can say, not with 100% certainty, but from participating in the focus groups, I know what people were talking about when they checked that box. It wasn't that we don't have good personnel and they need to be replaced. They're worried about losing people. So when they checked personnel, They were thinking about this whole notion of retaining an excellent staff, not replacing. I say that with a very strong conviction, because I think if it was anything else, we would have picked that up in the focus groups. That's the problem with survey. You don't sometimes know, you know what they might not be happy with, but you don't really know why. And in the focus group, we can ask you why. Then how can curriculum be in the strengths and then number 2 on the opportunities? I have the answer, I think, to that one too. They really like and respect your balanced program, but they don't want you to get complacent and rest on your laurels. And so when they put curriculum down, number 2, they're talking about continuous growth. I'm positive, because not a single person in any group mentioned any weakness with your curriculum. Not a single area was brought up. The educational options and programs, same thing. How could that be a strength and a weakness? They checked that because, again, they want you to keep going. Funding is a legitimate concern, and I think everyone knows why. Community relations, I think that's their way of talking about that issue of the conflicts and so on that came up in the focus groups. This was the most, choice that I think was most connected to that, so people chose that, the ones that had that on their mind. Facilities was mainly your middle school, and enrollment growth, which interestingly enough came up very rarely in the focus groups. Yet I know that that is an issue for you guys, and it came up on the survey. That's why it's nice to do both. And in the survey, they kind of separated leadership skills and personal traits. We don't when we do the focus groups. But the leadership skills are pretty congruent with the focus groups. Good communicator, good leadership, that people are talking there about that dynamic, charismatic, you know, somebody you really want to follow, it factor. Look at number 3, interpersonal skills. Remember the strong, but don't forget the interpersonal. And then look what they balance it with. You know, we want you to keep in mind, we don't just want a happy, glad-hander PR person. We want somebody who knows instruction, teaching and learning. Again, you have a very wise community. Integrity and trust came out number 1. That didn't come up nearly as much in the focus groups. Again, I don't have a conclusion about that. It's just the way it was. A good decision maker, that's getting into being able to make those tough decisions. It's great that child-centered came out in both. And people want a commitment to the community. There were mixed feelings about whether the new superintendent needs to live in your community physically, but there was no mixed opinion about, even if you don't live in the community, you need to have a connection to the community. People need to see you at plays and football games and cheerleading contests, you know, whatever it is. They want somebody who's visible and accessible and committed, clearly committed. So, before the big reveal. What we then do at this point, so we've analyzed the focus groups, we've analyzed the data. The most fun part of analyzing this for me then is trying to pull the two together and create this profile. And what I'm about to take you through is the profile that we think matches up most directly with what you're looking for and what this district needs at this point in time. So we will be using this profile in a number of ways. Everything from recruitment to developing questions for interviews and assessing and analyzing the quality of the candidates. Will everybody have all 8 characteristics? Absolutely not. But we are going to do a great job of finding people who check off the most boxes. And then we're going to hand over that slate to all of you, and you'll be doing the same. So we want a skilled decision maker who's fair, diplomatic, and personable. That's the strong and personable, while able to make difficult decisions that might not please all. A uniter who's open-minded and able to lead others towards consensus based on what is in the best interest of children. That one came right off that focus group sheet. A leader fully invested in Mukwonago Area School District who's approachable and visible. You notice how we're combining several ideas into one because they do go together well. Here's the leadership bullet. Dynamic, innovative, and visionary leader who can facilitate and clearly articulate the next path toward continued educational excellence and growth. That one hits a lot, you guys. That one hits not only the leadership, but the continuous growth and the complacency concern. A relationship builder with exceptional interpersonal skills. A passionate, student-centered leader, that gets to the kids first, with an in-depth understanding of teaching, learning, and the social developmental factors critical to success of students. That's the whole child understanding. A skilled, sorry that this bled into the bottom. A skilled listener, communicator, and collaborator who will engage all stakeholders within the school community. And then we wrap it up with honesty, integrity, and transparency. I'm going to just do quickly the next steps in the process, then open it up to any questions that you might have. Soon we'll be stopping the collection of applications. It's October 7th. It's really picking up right now. We're at 14 and growing. We were hoping to get to 20, and I feel very confident that we will, and we're getting some outstanding candidates submitting. So far, so good with recruitment. You have set aside October 10th through the 14th to do your first set of initial, we have set up October 10th through the 14th to conduct our screening interviews. We usually will find the best 10 to 12 folks to bring in, again, closest to match to the profile. We'll screen them. We'll use our own method of analysis based on the profile, and we will try to find anywhere between 5 and 7 candidates that we're going to recommend to you. We start doing reference checks at this point. We start doing analysis of people's social media footprints. We start doing reference checks and letters of reference and so on. So we start that process at that point. October 18th is a big day. We hope to set aside with you guys at least an hour and a half to do 2 things. We will share with you the candidates that we have recommended. We'll share with you their applications. We'll give you some other key documents that you can begin to start using in your own research. And then we'll take the second half of the meeting to share with you a whole array of questions that you can choose from, that you can start building your interview for that round 1. And if you don't like our questions, you certainly don't have to use them, but most boards like it to get you started thinking. And when you leave that meeting, you'll have a pretty good idea of the 12 to 14 questions you're going to want to ask those candidates in that first interview, which should be about an hour, hour 15 max. You're going to do those interviews then on November 1st through 3rd. And think you chose like 2 each day, was that not? Yeah, so that's a good plan. Then round 2 interviews with the finalists. Often that's 2 people, but there's no rule that it has to be 2. And at this point, you've set aside November 9th and 10th for that. And then sometime after that second interview, you will have your deliberations. We'll do any more reference checks and digging that you guys feel is appropriate, and you'll make your decision, and we'll make a contract offer. You can use your own school attorneys to do that process. Some boards like to use us to do that process because we've already got a relationship with both the board and the candidate. So that would be no extra charge if you wanted us to help you with that negotiations part. It's up to you. And then you're all set, right on schedule for an early December announcement. So, what's on your mind about all this? I laid a whole bunch of stuff on you.
All good.
So this leadership profile is being added to the job posting, or where will this be seen or made available?
We will literally attach it to the job posting, and we'd like to ask you to help us in a specific way. Would you mind publishing on your website both the report, then the profile, and then the survey results, which is a separate document? I didn't go through the survey results, I just highlighted them, but there's a separate document. I think this is the kind of transparency that people really appreciate. And, 28 teachers participated, X number of parents. And I think to go onto your website and see, hey, take a look at what the conclusions were. So feel free to use these documents. And Erica's, lots of candidates, love to get started on their research by looking at your website. So if the leadership profile is prominent, my suggestion would be to include this whole report, but then have the leadership profile be a separate document that they can go right to. Then candidates know how to prepare and are ready to rock when it's time to interview. Sean, is that all doable for
Yep,
you
we
guys?
can get that done, you bet.
Okay, good question. What else?
Can we put it in the key news so that parents know the results are there?
Do it.
I know there's one coming out.
Yes.
This leadership profile, how unique is this to us? You'd made a couple of comments about the involvement and the engagement with our community. Are you seeing results different here than you would typically see?
Yes, mainly. Now, there's some that usually come up, no matter what kind of district. People tend to want visible, approachable. That comes up a lot. Good listener, good communicator. Yeah, it's rare to not have one of those come up. But this notion of strong and decisive, yet interpersonal, that does not come up that often. Very unique. None of your folks who talked about strong leadership left it there. They always added the softer part. It was just really interesting. The uniter. Now, my guess is we're going to start seeing more of that because the political dynamics in the country are being reflected in school boards throughout your state and the country. So my guess is that one is unique right now, but probably won't be for too long.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else? Thank you, Joe, for all of the work so far. Thanks for driving down from Green Bay to be with us.
My pleasure.
I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Okay. You want this? Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to head back into the agenda and go down to our action items. We are going to start out with appointments, resignations, and retirements.
For tonight, we have 4 appointments. Amanda Turca, Title I teacher at Clarendon. We have Sarah Schmidt, Title I at Clarendon as well, and Diane Pollock, Title I at Eagleville and Prairie View. We have Randall Rideout, who will be our RISE teacher at the high school, and Kathleen Kuehl, who is the 4K teacher at that we're hiring. Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion, we approve these.
Second.
I have a motion and second. Any other discussion or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion carries. We have a personal day payout item.
With the year already starting off with a severe substitute shortage, we're looking at offering a voluntary buyout of the personal day for this coming school year. Following the Personnel Committee meeting on the 12th, where the idea was shared, so I sought feedback from administrators, teacher leaders to discuss a potential buyout of the personal day. As some groundwork for those discussions, we weren't entertaining a per diem rate, as that would be very expensive. However, coming out of those discussions, we were proposing that for staff choosing not to take their personal day, we would offer $225 if they did so before October 15th, and for those who would be willing to participate after October 15th, we'd offer $200. So we're just looking at the board's thoughts on this.
I would like to make a motion that we approve this buyout schedule that they put together.
So I am not hearing a second.
Can we just talk now? I don't second it, but I just want to talk.
No.
Oh.
No, we need a second for discussion. If we don't have a second, then it just falls flat.
I will second it.
Because he wants to talk too. That's good. That's good. Okay, now we have a motion and second, and we can discuss. Carolyn?
How many days are they able to buy out? Maybe I missed that in here. And then why are we offering that much money when it only costs $130 for a sub?
We are looking at just one day. It's just the personal day, no sick time. It's just that one single day. When it comes to the daily rate for teachers on call, there is a markup. So it doesn't cost us $130. There would also be a 29% markup to cover their administrative costs. The balancing act that we were trying to basically walk here was we wanted to be able to offer something that would be enough to get people to be interested in it, and actually reduce the sub costs. And so for some of our teachers, their daily rate is pretty substantial in comparison to what a very senior-most teacher, it's up over $400 per day. And so if we're going to entice people to take it, we had to think about how much we were offering. And so that's what we came up with.
And it also provides the continuity, having a real person there. Not that subs aren't real people. But also there have been vacancies in our classrooms without subs or teachers. So we're trying to cut that down. That's the only reason.
From being a teacher, my only thought is I think it should be encouraged that our staff be able to take and utilize their full time off for mental health, of being able to get away, and they shouldn't feel like I'm not participating in it, peer pressure, and, because I feel like of many jobs out there, teachers are the ones that they need to get away.
I understand. Again, purely voluntary.
Yeah.
So this is 1 year?
1 year.
That we're asking for this, and we have the data of previous years, minus all the kind of nightmares of that, but we can revisit this next year to see if it worked, see if it made a difference, given, I understand why we're doing it is purely to make up for the loss of staffing.
That's correct. If we wanted to continue to do this into the future, by the way, that we are only looking for 22, 23 at this time. And this is only linked to the severe shortage that we're facing. If we weren't looking at a severe shortage of subs, this really wouldn't probably be on our radar at all.
So this is just a Band-Aid, hopefully, that we can take off and never have to worry about after this.
Yeah, yes, that'd be accurate.
What is the projected cost to the district for this? 'Cause I don't.
I would have to dig into how much the cost would be. I do know that for, again, when a sub is hired, at the same time that we're getting the sub, we're also paying that person their per diem rate, because it's their paid time off. And so, but I'd have to dig into that a little bit further. But when you have a sub, you're paying that person their per diem rate, plus you're paying for the sub on top of it.
It'd be really hard to figure out what it's gonna be, not knowing how many people would do it.
Right.
Half it, it's kind of a tough number to get.
Joel?
Any feedback from the teachers as far as how they feel about this?
When I spoke to the teacher leaders, the conversation really just kind of boiled down to, could we get a per diem? That was really where they were at. And in their conversations with staff, some were interested, some were fully uninterested. That it just simply didn't matter what we would offer in terms of money. They want the time. Just like anything, there was a diversity of opinion on the topic.
And nobody felt like they were being punished if they weren't taking it?
There is no punishment involved in this at all.
No, we completely understand it. And Carolyn, you hit it on the head. We get it. There is not a lot of flexibility in a teaching job. They're here for 170 on 180 instructional days, and it's a pretty set, established calendar. There's not a lot of flexibility like there are in other careers where you take a vacation day or a week of vacation in the middle of school year. It's just not possible. So we understand the need for a personal day. Last year we had how many that did not use the personal day?
I think about 80.
And so we are thinking that maybe if we could get a few more people to not take it because of this financial incentive, it might save us on the sub issue. But there is no pressure whatsoever. If they all want to take their personal day, so be it.
Cherry?
So, just so I understand, other districts have done this?
This is us. I don't know of any other district that's offering a payout for personal days. Some places don't have personal days. Some places have paid time off. Some places have a couple of personal days. So there's variety.
So you don't. There's no. Okay.
Yep.
Second. So if a teacher takes a day, a personal day, we pay them their salary, and so you would be paying them their salary plus this extra money.
Yep.
Okay. So if they did take their personal day, you would be paying the salary plus the sub. Do I understand that correctly?
Yes. When a sub comes in, we're paying, and in both cases, frankly, I mean, you're always going to be paying for the sub, and unless they're out of sick time, there's
well,
a
no,
per diem.
because not in both cases, because if they stay, you're not paying for the sub.
True.
Right?
But there's
okay. So if a teacher would not take their day, they would get their regular salary plus $200. Okay.
Yes.
And if we had a sub, they would get their pay plus, if it's not a long-term sub, it's a short-term sub. It would be $130. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So it's costing us approximately $70 more per day for the teacher to buy out his or her
That's correct.
day. Okay. And then when they're discussing about peer pressure, does anyone know if they got paid out or if they didn't get paid out? How would anybody ever know unless somebody told somebody? You understand what I'm saying? If a teacher chooses to be paid out, unless they tell a colleague, their colleague wouldn't know that they would just think they didn't use it. They wouldn't know if they got paid or didn't get paid, right? I mean, I'm just trying to understand.
I don't think it's a matter of that. It's if you take your day off, you're kind of shamed for doing it. Is where her concern is.
That's how I
it's not
understood
a matter
it,
of
right.
getting the money. It's the shame on you for not being the team player.
Oh.
And taking the day off.
Right. Okay.
Certainly, if somebody was made to feel bad because they took their day or not took their day, I would certainly want to know about it.
Yeah.
So I'm not opposed to giving it a try for a year because we don't know if it's going to work if we don't try. I, however, would like very clear data on, well, how did our sub rate change? How many more sick days were used instead of just the personal day? Do you know what I mean? Like,
Sure,
yeah, I got my
certainly.
personal day and I paid that out, but I was sick for
Sure.
4 more days than usual. Do you know what I mean? Like, I would like to know
It's a possibility.
all of those very clear data points to readdress this next year. That would be my
Certainly.
open expectation behind it.
And I just wanted to go back to one of the things that Sherry asked. Although we're unsure if districts are trying this approach with paying for unused personal days, we do know a number of districts pay for unused sick leave. And that's frequently a complaint from our staff, that many of them are very conscientious and they come to work every day and use very, very few sick days over their 30 or 35 years, and they have a bunch of sick days piled up at the end of their career, and those are unused, and there is no payout, as there might be in other districts or in other industries and businesses.
So is that another way to look? Because
Yeah, absolutely, we
I
can
mean,
take a
'cause
look at that,
would
but
be-
that's
that
even
would
more
be more
costly.
than a personal day to pay, choose it.
Right, and
I mean, we
so-
don't want them coming to school not feeling well, but also if they don't, like you said, they come.
Mhm. So it's something that we can take a look at, but that's a much more costly proposal, and we'll have to wait and see how this next budget goes.
Do you have any ballpark ideas where what this might be for a total expense for the year?
I would.
know that we've got numbers in here of who did what last year.
If every I got it here, if every teacher did, if all 350 teachers did this at $225, the market would be $30,000.
30 grand.
Yep.
But then you have to subtract out what you would have to pay for
No,
the subs,
that's what
right?
it is. All in, 30 grand additional.
Okay.
And some teachers have already used their personal days,
Right.
so it's not going to be that much, but that's the worst case scenario, if you want to call it worst case.
We just started. They already used it.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I am.
Okay, motion carries.
Caveat being that we have to report back on this end of the school year.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll make a note of that. We'll be back.
Yep, thank you. All right, 2022-23 retention fund.
All right, as we went into this hiring season, we had a number of staff with a variety of different licenses, and I do want to highlight that it wasn't all simply tech ed and those high need, more rare licenses that we need in order to maintain a comprehensive program, but we had a total of 4 teachers that were aggressively courted, and to retain them, we ended up needing to counter, and some of those counters was just under $40,000 to retain those folks. So what we're looking to do, we got the endorsement of the personnel committee, is just simply getting permission to create a retention fund, basically, for $50K, so that when folks are starting to get these aggressive offers, that we're in a position to counter them quickly, nimbly, to be able to hang on to key talent.
I'd like to make a motion.
I'll second. Any discussion or questions? Cherry?
Didn't we always have a retention fund?
Yeah. Typically, we have asked for one when we've finalized the compensation. This year, I failed to ask for it, so I'm coming a little bit later.
I'd like to make a motion, even though Sean forgot about it.
Somebody's got short timers.
Erica, did you have the second there?
I did. So we're essentially putting that back into place, but maybe a little bit larger than it has been in the past.
Yeah, 50,000 is what we're looking.
That is what it's been.
It's been similar in years
30,
past.
40.
More? Okay, yeah.
Similar to private industry, when you want to keep a great employee, you're going to do what you can, and we rely on professionals like yourself and Sean and Tom and Stephanie and Christine to tell us that they're exceptional.
Is there some sort of requirement to have like a written offer for that?
Oh, we do verify. I mean, where are you going? What's the dollar amount? I mean, having that nailed down is very important. Otherwise, that's a real problem.
Gotcha.
Anything else? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Robotic space at IDC.
Okay, so we are discussing the possibility of splitting the cost of renting 4,800 square feet at $6 per square foot, and splitting that cost with the First Robotics team. Dustin Lehman is here to help answer some questions right now. I know there's probably going to be at least some here. I guess I'll stop here to see and just see what questions you guys might have. What can I help talk about here to help you make this decision?
Can we start with what the recommendation is that's coming forward?
My recommendation here is to move forward with this. What I think we have here is we have a competitive student club who is homeless. We have a home for all of our activities. We have DECA. Dustin, you can help explain some of the stuff here, but if we go through some of our student activity groups, they all have a place in one of our schools. DECA is going to use our school store just outside the Commons in the cafeteria. Skills USA uses all of our CTE spaces, autos, woods, engineering, welding, manufacturing. Our culinary classroom is used for our culinary program. Best Buddies uses the cafe outside the high school. The musical obviously has the PAC. Pick a student activity. They have a home.
Tom?
Yep.
I think she was asking for what the motion is.
Well, here, this is what I'm going to do anyway. First, hold your thought. Finance and facilities, you brought this forward to the full board, so I'm going to ask that in order to continue this dialogue, that you guys at least make your motion and your second.
So the motion is to provide half of the rent for the first year, but we were talking about negotiating the term of the contract.
So the motion here, and I have in the memo here, is to negotiate a lease up to 5 years in length for the 4,800 square feet available, not to exceed an annual price of $28,800, with the school board paying for half of the cost and First Robotics covering the other half. The $14,400 represents 20% of their 2021 operating budget.
Thanks, Don.
So that's the recommendation from the committee. Sorry I didn't answer that
Yeah,
first time there.
Yeah, that's the motion that we wanted to bring forth to the school board.
I'd like to make that motion.
I'll second.
All right.
Now we're going.
So now we can continue on in that discussion.
I'd like to, can I say something?
Yeah, please. Craig.
I thought the demonstration they did a year ago was pretty amazing. They were making baskets in here from 20, they're truly amazing. The kids are smart. It's pretty awesome. I think we all want to see those kids, make medical devices and do cool stuff. But the only thing I see, are we setting a precedent for any other club that comes forward and says, hey, we really need somewhere to go, and you did it for the robotics club?
So one thing that I've been talking to Tom about is what are these other clubs, and a thing that we'd asked at that meeting is what other support does our district give other clubs in the school? One big thing is that every other club has a place and a home, kind of like Tom had mentioned. They don't have a home. We do provide financial support. It's a little kludgy right now, but we're looking at the dollar amount of financial support that we do provide other clubs. No other club in our district does fundraising like this club. This club has corporate sponsors and fundraising to the tune of, is it $135,000? Is that what I
Yes.
got wrong?
Yep.
Their annual operating budget's around $116,000.
Which is insane.
That gets them through the
which is
season,
great,
but they go above that.
Maybe we should have maybe a policy or guideline or something that we can tell another group, well, wait a minute, these people, robotics does it this way, and they're successful, and we should maybe mirror that. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. And I'm good with that because I feel like if another club wants to step up and try to get close to that, by all means, the door is open. But this is it's an incredible amount of money that they're bringing in on their own.
I think what we learned here, what I learned, other districts that will have space, Cedarburg High School, for example, has dedicated space in their high school. They shared other examples of that as well. Good timing with the long-range facility study to figure out this is one thing that should be added to that somehow, some way. That would be my recommendation, is to consider that, because I think this is a really competitive program. This is something that we here in Mukwonago, those kids in particular, they stand out on the national and global stage here in years past. So I don't think now would be the time to minimize the support. This seems to be like a good time to make the investment into these kids.
Joel?
I spent the last week talking to countless college students for internships at the company where I work. This FIRST Robotics background is phenomenal. I mean, it's every bit as academic as the classes they can take. What it brings to some of these students that are applying for these positions is so worthwhile. So I'd say it's as academic more so than many of our classes. So it's experience that companies look for. It's a good thing to do for kids. It's worth the investment.
Yeah. Jerry?
I think that I agree with Tom about we're just looking at all of these strategic plans that we're doing right now. And so the timing is kind of, like you say. So I don't think that 5 years is a long time, because if we would be working on our plan and if we would go to referendum and if we would do whatever, we may have Parkview empty that we wouldn't have to pay someone else, that we could have in our own facility. So I guess my only thing would be the length of time and that we're setting, and considering that when we're doing our strategic plan, because there are other options that we may have.
Okay. Dale?
I just have a question of, I think the robotics program is great, one of the best in the nation. My question is, what happens when funding, their corporate sponsorship dries up? Are we going to be on the hook for the whole lease of the building?
We would be, yes, I would answer it that way. When we sign that lease, it's my name on your behalf, the Mukwonago Area School District. It's our insurance that needs to cover that facility. We will ultimately be responsible for that, so yes.
What other things do these kids need? Because they're going to get this space, or if they get the space, do they need like chairs and whiteboards, the 3D printer over there?
Cleaning,
so they
cleaning
can-
maybe, Carolyn? Cleaning, janitors, plumbers, I don't know.
So that's all part of the club. Those kids do set up and break down, clean up every practice. So I would not say we would need cleaning there. As far as the 3D printing, they are still going to utilize our fab lab, our wood shop, our manufacturing lab to do the overall manufacturing of the pieces for the robotic, or for like the different robots that they have. And so they'll be back and forth. This is going to allow them a place to stay, a field to have set up full time that's 30 by 60, which is a regulation field. It'll have office space for those students who do the fundraising, the marketing, the business plans, the travel, that plan all of that. So they still will have access to the shops and to the fab lab for the laser engraver, the 3D printer, the vinyl cutters, all of those things. So they don't need any more equipment. They need the space. They have everything they need. When they go to a competition, they have their own pits, kind of like a NASCAR race. They have their own pits to be able to work in between different heats. They have all of that stuff that they will have right there set up at this facility.
Long term, what do those items cost though? If they eventually wanted to deck their space out?
Like 3D printers and laser and stuff. Good 3D printers range from $4,000 to $7,000. A good laser engraver is going to be $30,000. A water jet.
You're going to have to talk
be
to their sponsors for that, I think.
Very expensive.
Yeah, but that's all stuff that they've gotten themselves already, right? Or it's in the school.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and like I said, I don't see corporate sponsorships drying up. Our community is very supportive of this team. And like I said, our group said last week, these mentors are not the ones going out and doing this. It is 100% the kids. Mm-hmm. And they've shown results, and the companies have been extremely supportive of them year in and year out, which is why they've been able to raise 6 figures every single year for these competitions, because it's a very expensive club when you talk about a $6,000 entry fee into these competitions and all of the travel across the Midwest to make these things happen. Which is also why they're starting to host events here at Mukwonago, because they are a recognized in the nation club. So then they're bringing things to the state of Wisconsin, which also keeps costs down for them and helps them raise more money for internationals.
Do I have any other questions or conversation? I would like to make the point, real briefly though, our swim and dive team is homeless. There's no pool here.
Well, we need to build one.
I
It's a long-range facility plan.
I gotta mirror Dale's thoughts and concerns. I mean, if they lose sponsorships, they lose funding, that's 28,000 that we're gonna be on the hook for. And I don't know what that is to our liability, I don't know what that is to the insurance. I'm sure it's an incremental change. But that's gonna be a significant number that we're gonna be on the hook for, or we violate a lease. Fine. Will it happen? No, no guarantees, but that's a lot of money. And I'm with Sherry on the fact that we just approved a potential 30,000 change in teacher salary for the year. We have a facilities plan that we still need to get our arms around. Finance budget says if we don't get $150 more per pupil next year, we're gonna have a budget problem. I love the robotics club. I love everything they've done. I don't think there's anything negative about it, but we're on the edge, and I really have a hard time with that.
So would you feel better if it was not a 5-year lease, but a 3-year lease?
Well, it says up to a 5-year lease.
Right.
So
that's
and
why
I was
I'm
going to
trying to
make
get
that
the feel for the group that
And
the comfort level will be.
And they're not brand new. I mean, the club has been around here getting corporate sponsorships for a long time.
20 years.
Yeah, they've been successful. It's not going anywhere. I would recommend that we move ahead with this.
Has their corporate sponsor budget only increased since they've been born?
Mm-hmm. And the Fed raised rates 3/4 of a point on Wednesday.
I know, I got that.
I would be more comfortable if instead of saying not to exceed 5, it would be not to exceed 3, because that would take us through our facility plan and what we may have, so that we wouldn't be locked into it for years when we had places to put them. So in answer to your question, yes.
Would that be a deal
For me,
breaker?
that would make it-
Would that be a deal breaker for the?
They had only asked for 2.
And it
We-
says up to 5, and they understand they're hearing your concern. I don't.
So originally they had only asked for 2, and it was brought up just as a negotiating tactic for 5. I think they're perfectly fine with 2. It was just an idea to keep the cost down. So even if we had to go down to 2, they're happy.
How much do they spend every year? Like if they're raising like 120,000, how much are they actually spending of that every year?
If I remember right, they spend 116, they bring in 135.
Yep, that's what I remember too.
That sounds accurate, correct?
So they actually operate at not at a deficit. Go team.
So let's refocus on the motion that is on the table. Willing to pay 14,400?
Yep.
Is it? Per year, which is half of the 28,800 per year. It says up to 5 years. I think that was the motion that was made. It could possibly be amended if the motion makers wanted to say not to exceed 3. I don't know, but let's focus on that rather than necessarily their budgets and their corporate sponsorships, because that's the work that they do. It's whether or not we're willing to put this much into the program as well.
I'll make the amendment to make it to 3 years, up to 3 years, if it makes.
Wait a second.
And I'll still second.
Okay, so the motion on the table is no more than 3.
Correct.
Okay, any other questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. We have the MASD facility rental rates.
Okay, thanks, Dustin. Okay, we've talked since October about creating a facility rental rate or increasing our rates here after we compared ourselves to other area school districts. We were basically charging nothing for the use of our gymnasiums, where when you look out in the private community, the private sector, there's a lot of gyms that are all throughout, and they are charging a really healthy amount of fees for use of those facilities. So given our position as a low revenue school district, this is one opportunity we're kind of just giving away, and I think it's time that we consider having some type of rate that we charge that isn't excessive but fair. So on the memo that I gave there, I'm looking to increase the rates that we have, that we charge Group 3 and Group 4. So Groups 1 and 2 are really MASD students and MASD affiliated groups. Groups 3 and 4 have their roots in Mukwonago but aren't necessarily tied to our district. So think youth sports that hail from the Mukwonago community but aren't necessarily a part of our school district. So when they use our facilities, they are free in many instances or almost completely free, but when they go other places, private gyms, private indoor facilities, they're paying a lot. So I think that the fair thing to do is to start charging the rates that I have proposed there for when they use our elementary or middle school gymnasiums or our high school gymnasiums for rec use, like a practice, or for like tournaments and competitions there that like I have spelled out. What questions might you have about that?
The rental for any center court or the brand new in New Berlin is astronomical.
It's in the hundreds. I know
This is nothing.
groups that my sons are a part of are paying $300 an hour for.
I'm going to stop you quick, Tom.
Yeah.
Before we talk about this, I need a motion in a second.
I make a motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All right, keep going. Sorry.
Add $5 to this.
Was that, Vito, you had the second there?
Yes, add $5 to it, cover the robotics too.
No, I think we should increase court. I mean, even equal to some of these other people that are charging for the space, because there's not enough space out there, and it's a desirable place for a lot of things. You know.
Yeah, no, this stuff is free. Somebody's got to pay for it.
Yep. Anything else? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Motion carries. We've got our seclusion and restraint report with Christine.
I always get the really fun topics. All right, so annually, by October 1st every year, we need to submit to the school board a report on the number of incidents of seclusion and physical restraint from the prior school year. So the report I have tonight is from the 21-22 school year. I just want to reiterate that the law permits the use of physical restraint or seclusion only in circumstances, and this is really important, where a student's behavior presents a clear, present, and imminent risk to the physical safety of the student or others. And the physical restraint or seclusion is the least restrictive intervention feasible. And that is just really important because I want you to know, I want the board to understand that it is a last resort and only when it absolutely has to be used to keep a child safe or to keep other people safe. So if you look down below, you'll see the documentation from the 21-22 school year. We had 22 incidents of seclusion or restraint, 11 students involved, and 9 of those 11 students were students with disabilities. If you look below that in the graph, you'll see the trend for the last couple of years. Really, the trend has stayed pretty similar with a significant reduction after the 19-20 school year. On the last page, well, on my last page, on your electronic page, I just outline the training that our staff go through. So we do a nonviolent crisis intervention training. Listed below are the number of staff members who are trained. So our staff members go through either a full one-day training or a refresher training every single school year if they are in a position to work with students who might need some additional intervention. That includes our administrators, that includes our paraprofessionals, includes staff, teachers, myself, coordinators. So we do our very best to approach every situation with de-escalation in mind, and so that we're never in a position where we would need to seclude or restrain a child unless, again, it's that imminent safety risk. So do you have any questions for me?
Has there been any form of de-escalation programs or training that helps account for the reduction in numbers? I mean, that's great that.
You know, I really think in the last couple of years, we've just really bolstered the number of sessions we're offering, and it's become more and more non-negotiable to not be part of the training. Because it's just really the majority of the training is really talking about de-escalating a behavioral encounter or a situation, and really the less part of it is about the physical or hands-on component. I just think the number of sessions we've offered and then following up continuously every single school year with who needs to go through the entire training, who needs to go through a refresher, and really holding that accountability piece has really helped.
Thanks for that effort.
I will make a motion that we accept this report.
Second.
I don't know. You guys fight it out. Who took that?
Joel.
Joel got it.
Who had the motion there? I'm sorry.
I did.
Okay, thank you.
Did anybody else have any other questions for Christine? All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Prairie View Elementary parking lot expansion proposal.
Okay, so we are trying to solve our issues at Prairie View Elementary School. We have parent pickup issues in particular that are starting to get pretty concerning from a safety perspective. So for whatever the reason, people aren't driving the bus as much as we like. They're not riding it, excuse me. And we went out there last week, Wednesday, to observe it, and with parents parking across County Road E, crossing it and coming back. It's a bad idea. I wish people did not do that. I wish they used the bus. Only those that need to do parent pickup and drop off that are open enroll students that do not get access to our buses, because we don't send buses out to other communities, can't do that. I just wish that people would use the bus more, not just at Prairie View Elementary, but at all of our schools, but I can't compel them to do that. So we have to try to find solutions here. The proposal that we're looking at right now is to expand our parking lots in the south. We approached the farm owners to the south, and they are not interested in selling anything to us. So there's really not an expansion south that we can really think about here. So we got to take the land that we have and find solutions there. So we're looking to make a parking lot on the current kickball field and then to relocate that back onto the west side behind the school and give that a different home. I do want to say, though, we are looking at other options as well. Expanding a service drive around the playground, expanding a service drive around the school. Those are pretty unlikely, but we're looking at those to make sure that we're considering everything we ought to be. We're going to utilize the existing playground to use that more for parent pickup, which I believe we started today. So we're trying to do everything that we can here. We're also taking a look at expanding our parking lot to the north. Now there's a huge slope of a hill that if we were to use clean fill there to build that up and make that viable for a parking lot or expansion, that would take years in the making, but something that we could certainly start doing now to give ourselves an option 3-5 years down the road. I guess the here and the now is that we're looking to potentially expand the parking lot. We have some money that was left over from the budget that was established for the repaving of the parking lot at Rolling Hills. That amount is approximately $200,000. Whatever money is left there is the budget we would allocate for this project. If it went more, we would come and talk to you guys here, but we're looking for the opportunity to pursue this. If we find that there's just something not viable about it, if the county says can't do it, or for whatever the reason the stormwater runoff creates a problem, then we got to abandon it and find a different plan B. But this is plan A right now.
So is this a safety issue, the cars crossing E
Yeah,
back
so
and forth?
when you're
or is it the neighbors complaining that all these cars are in a subdivision?
Craig, this is what I saw. So if you're driving northbound and you're going to pass the school, which is on your left, and you're going to go down the hill to Highway 59, there was parents that would cross, get their kid, and then walk back to the neighborhood. And there were cars northbound that would stop to let them pass. My fear is that a car is going to approach that and pass, thinking that that car who stopped is going to turn left and they're going to go around it.
And
That's what I fear.
I mean, that's in my neighborhood, and there have been accidents there right at that intersection. For some reason, when you're going down, going north, soon to go down that hill, the people coming up, when they're turning, they can't see. My wife's car, Lisa's car, got whacked, totaled, and she was going.
I just didn't know if it was a safety issue but
safety issue.
It is definitely a safety issue.
So is the motion you're looking for is an approval to pursue a $200,000 traffic flow improvement at that school?
Yes.
I make that motion.
I will
Second.
Go for it, Joe.
Second.
I will say I've been hearing from community members on this one quite a
Who-
bit, that this is a big concern for many people.
As school board president, you should tell them to take the bus.
You're the vice
I retract that statement, sorry.
Who had that second there?
Dale. Yeah, that gavel is only for Craig Wirtz right there. So we have a motion and a second. Any other questions or discussion on this one? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Great, motion carries, and we move into unfinished business.
So I'll go first. So just a reminder, as Joe said, your next board work session is Tuesday, October 18th at 6 p.m. We are looking to have our next facility study work session. We're working with Bray and Kurt and I'm sorry, not BWP, but our construction company. Help me out.
Bray Architects.
No, I said Bray.
C.G. Schmidt.
Schmidt.
C.G. Schmidt, I'm sorry. Anyway, we are hoping that we could meet the hour before our next full school board meeting. So is that a possibility that we can meet at 6, from 6 to 7 on Monday, October 24? And I don't need answers from all of you right now. I'll send you an email.
Just a quorum.
So, yeah, we should reply to that chain email, Craig.
So that's what we're thinking at this time. Again, 6 p.m. on Monday, October 24. That's our full board meeting in October.
And that's for the facility.
And that would be for the facilities, right?
Why do I have that already, that October 18th already on here? Did we talk about that already?
So October 18th is a board work session
With
BWP. Although if you got WASB mailers, it is their fall regional meeting just got scheduled, and there's a big election that night.
Oh, well, I can't go to that one.
So
I'd love
I don't know that we're going to be able to reschedule it, but I will be looking into a way that we can, if anyone is interested in at least placing their vote. He's sarcastic. Place of vote, absentee, I'm going to look into that. 24th. 24th, Monday.
The 18th
Oh, yeah.
is WASB, or
The-
the
Their
24th?
fall regional committee meeting,
Did they move it?
the 18th, October 18th.
Did they move it, though? It's always been then?
6 p.m.
Yes.
on the 24th, Carolyn?
So.
Thank you.
I got you. Sean's gonna send you an email, then?
Okay.
You're gonna reply to Sean.
I'm not replying.
I'll just
And-
take a quick opportunity here to remind you that you all do have homework that came from Kurt.
You?
Oh,
Oh,
so
it's
I-
not.
did I
it's
steal that from you,
Sean's
Sean?
unfinished business.
I didn't see it.
Sorry about that, Sean.
I was so anxious to remind them that they had homework and you took it.
He stole the thunder.
Stole the
Sorry,
That was his last.
All the board members that finished would please raise your hand. Thank you, Art.
Brown,
Appreciate it.
sir.
Thank you.
So the question is, you had mentioned that it would be next week, Monday, when the homework was assigned. That was the time that was given us. So is that when they want it back, or do they want it back the 24th?
It's due on October
October
3rd, next week, Monday. You got 7 days left.
I handed it in and I got a gold
So-
star.
I didn't, that's fine. I did not
Turn his
understand. It was like,
mic off.
bring it to the meeting, and
No.
there isn't a meeting that day. I want to be sure, because that it coincides with our learning committee meeting, and I want to be sure that we're in.
No, because it's a digital submission, so you can't, you don't.
Just
have
hit
to bring it
send, Sherry, just hit send.
There.
Send.
It's the green one.
with. We're getting punchy. What else you got, Sean? We got to get out of here. We are losing any decorum that we might have had.
I wanted to say thank you to the Kiwanis Club. They are a huge supporter of our district. That's a service club that has done a lot for us. Last week, Wednesday, we had the new teacher dinner, and they hosted a number of administrators and new teachers. As you know, we have 46 new teachers this year, and we probably had about 30 to 35 at the dinner. So a big thanks to them. And that was the same evening that Diego was honored as the Student of the Month. So he was the Kiwanis Student of the Month. And I'll just read a few of the reasons why he was honored as the Student of the Month. 4.0 grade point average, 13 AP courses, National Honor Society, Global Scholar, Spanish Club, Soccer, Key Club, Model UN, International Club, Ecology Club. He's a school board rep, obviously. He's also the National Honor Society National Honor Society president, Spanish Club president, and the Mukwonago soccer team captain.
Woo-wee. Overachiever.
I was going to say,
Great
bro,
job.
take a nap.
Great job.
Well done, Diego.
We have
Art
some-
didn't have any of those on his resume ever. Did you?
Art club.
Dead end.
Motion to adjourn.
Oh gosh,
right
Sean,
now.
I'm not
that's
done
a
yet.
quick
That's it.
Just a couple more. We do have some other students we want to recognize, and that's in the September recognition report that's attached to your agenda. So National Merit Scholarship semifinalists. So this is a huge deal. Congratulations to senior students Andy Barron and Emma Krause, who've been named National Merit Scholarship semifinalists. So approximately 1.5 million students in 21,000 high schools participate in this program. About 16,000 of them are recognized as semifinalists, and thus Emma and Andy are in the top 1% of high school seniors in our country. So that's a pretty impressive honor. And then we also have 2 nominees for the Presidential Scholars Program, so we want to make sure we're recognizing Abby Esmeyer and Caleb Turk, who again are nominees from Mukwonago High School. They're both seniors for the Presidential Scholars Program.
Good job.
And then I think, just one more final thing. Last week at the board work session, we talked about the WASB online learning platform. So you should have received an email from the WASB. The subject line is Online Learning Platform Authorized User. So look for that email. Look in the body of the email. There's a link in there. You click on the link, you'll log in, and then you can start watching those online learning modules from the WASB.
Did you need this?
I don't know what that is.
This is what it says under superintendent report. I didn't know if you had discussed that.
No.
Yeah, I don't
Sure.
have anything other than that for, there's a.
Yep, no, I think that's just old.
Actually, the information about the students is under correspondence and recognition. So if you go down a little bit farther on the agenda, so they didn't put it under superintendent report, they put it on.
Okay.
So if you click on that, you'll see that report.
Thank you.
And that's all I have.
Okay, I have nothing. Who is making the motion? Steve, I was figuring.
I would second it.
And there we go. All those in favor?
Aye.